A Sufi mystic in 13th-century Andalusia wrote, "There is nothing in existence but God." A Buddhist monk in 6th century India wrote, "Form is emptiness, emptiness is form." These sound like opposite statements. One says everything is full, overflowing with the divine. The other says everything is empty, devoid of inherent existence. But when you examine what each tradition actually means by these words fullness and emptiness, you discover they are describing the same thing, the same truth, from opposite directions. The Sufi tradition emerged within Islam in the 8th and 9th centuries CE, a mystical movement that sought direct experience of God through the annihilation of the self. Its greatest systematic thinker, Ibn Arabi, was born in Murcia, Spain in 1165 CE. The Buddhist tradition of Sunyata emptiness traces directly to the historical Buddha in the 5th century BCE and was systematized by the philosopher Nagarjuna in approximately the 2nd century CE in southern India. Andalusia and India, Arabic and Sanskrit, Islam and Buddhism. These are not merely two different civilizations. They are two different civilizations built on what appear to be incompatible foundations, one centered on God, the other centered on the absence of a permanent self. And yet both arrived at the same description of the nature of reality. Ibn Arabi, known in the Islamic tradition as al-Sheikh al-Akbar, the greatest master, developed a concept that would define Sufi metaphysics for the next 8 centuries. Wahdat al-Wujud, the unity of being. The concept is this: there is only one reality, only one existence, only one being, and that being is God. Everything you see, every person, every object, every star is not separate from God. It is a manifestation of God, a self-disclosure, a face that the one reality turns toward itself. Ibn Arabi wrote in the Fusus al-Hikam, the bezels of wisdom, "The universe is his form. He is the mirror in which you see God, and you are the mirror in which God sees his divine attributes." This is not pantheism, the belief that God is the physical universe. Ibn Arabi is more precise. He says the universe is a theophany, a showing forth of the divine. The wave is not separate from the ocean, but the wave is not the entire ocean either. The wave is what the ocean looks like when it moves. And here is the radical implication. If there is only one being and everything is a manifestation of that being, then nothing you see has independent existence. The table, the tree, the person beside you, none of these exist as separate self-sufficient entities. They exist only as expressions of the one reality. Their apparent separateness is a veil. Ibn Arabi called this the barzakh, the isthmus, the zone between the absolute unity of God and the apparent multiplicity of the world. We live in the barzakh. We see many things, but behind the many one. The Sufi practice dhikr, contemplation, annihilation of the ego, is designed to pierce the barzakh, to see through the veil of multiplicity, to experience directly that there is only one reality manifesting as everything. One reality, many appearances. Nothing has independent existence. Everything is a manifestation of the one. Now, the same insight stated in completely different language, from a tradition that does not use the word God. The Heart Sutra, one of the most recited texts in all of Buddhism, contains a line that has puzzled and illuminated practitioners for nearly 2,000 years. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is not other than emptiness. Sunyata emptiness is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in Buddhist philosophy. It does not mean that nothing exists. It does not mean that the universe is a void. It does not mean nihilism. Sunyata means that nothing exists with inherent, independent, self-sufficient being. Everything that exists, every object, every person, every thought exists only in dependence upon other things. Nothing stands alone. Nothing is self-caused. Nothing possesses its own independent essence. The philosopher Nagarjuna, writing in approximately the 2nd century CE, formalized this in his Mulamadhyama Kakarika, the fundamental verses on the middle way. He demonstrated, through rigorous logical analysis, that no phenomenon can be found to possess svabhava own being, inherent existence. Not atoms, not consciousness, not the Buddha, not emptiness itself. Everything is empty of independent existence. And because everything is empty, everything is possible. Emptiness is not a void. It is the condition that makes all manifestation possible. If things had fixed inherent natures, they could never change. They could never arise. They could never interact. Emptiness is what allows the universe to happen. Nagarjuna wrote, "It is because of emptiness that all things are possible. Without emptiness, nothing is possible." The Buddhist practice meditation, investigation, the gradual dissolution of the illusion of a fixed self, is designed to produce direct experience of Sunyata, not as an intellectual concept but as a lived reality. To see, in real time, that the boundaries between things are constructed by the mind, that nothing you perceive has the independent solidity it appears to have. Side by side. Parallel 1. Nothing has independent existence. Ibn Arabi says nothing exists independently of God, everything is a manifestation of the one reality. Nagarjuna says nothing exists independently at all, everything arises in dependence upon causes and conditions. Both traditions deny that the things we see have separate, self-sufficient being. The Sufi says the separateness is a veil over unity. The Buddhist says the separateness is a construction of the mind over emptiness. Different language. Same structural claim. Parallel 2. The ultimate reality is not an object. In Sufi metaphysics, God cannot be grasped as an object of thought. The moment you think you understand God, you have reduced the infinite to a concept. God is beyond all categories. In Buddhist philosophy, Sunyata cannot be grasped as an object either. Emptiness is not a thing. It is the absence of inherent thingness in all things. Both traditions describe an ultimate reality that cannot be captured by ordinary cognition, only experienced directly. Parallel 3. Multiplicity is appearance, not substance. Ibn Arabi says the many things we see are self-disclosures of the one being like waves on a single ocean. Nagarjuna says the many things we see are dependently originated phenomena empty of own being, existing only in relation to each other. Both traditions say the multiplicity is real as appearance, but not real as substance. What you see is not what ultimately is. Parallel 4. The practice dissolves the illusion. The Sufi path, dhikr, fana, annihilation of the ego, dissolves the sense of being a separate self and reveals the unity beneath the multiplicity. The Buddhist path, vipassana, insight meditation, the deconstruction of the self, dissolves the sense of being a separate self and reveals the emptiness beneath the apparent solidity. Both traditions describe a practice that produces a direct experience of the ultimate nature of reality, and both say that experience requires the dissolution of the ordinary self. Parallel 5. Fullness and emptiness are the same. This is the deepest parallel. The Sufi says reality is absolutely full. There is nothing but God, overflowing into manifestation. The Buddhist says reality is absolutely empty. There is nothing with inherent existence. But fullness of being and emptiness of inherent being point to the same experiential truth. What you take to be solid, separate, and fixed is not. The floor drops out, and what remains, whether you call it God or Sunyata, is the same groundless ground. 5 parallels. No independent existence. The ultimate is not an object. Multiplicity is appearance. Practice dissolves the illusion. Fullness equals emptiness. Islam and Buddhism. Andalusia and India. 3 positions. The first, historical contact. Unlike some parallels on this channel, there is documented contact between Sufi and Buddhist traditions. The early Islamic world interacted with Buddhist Central Asia. The Barmakid family, powerful administrators in the early Abbasid Caliphate, were descended from Buddhist priests at Balkh in modern Afghanistan. Some scholars have proposed that Sufi mystical practices were influenced by Buddhist meditation techniques through these Central Asian contacts. This is a real historical pathway, but Wahdat al-Wujud emerged 7 centuries after the earliest Sufi Buddhist contact and is grounded entirely in Quranic theology and Islamic Neoplatonism. If there was Buddhist influence, it was absorbed so deeply that the resulting philosophy is entirely Islamic in its expression. The second, convergent mysticism. Any contemplative tradition that practices sustained introspective investigation of the nature of self and reality, regardless of its theological starting point, will eventually encounter the dissolution of the sense of a dhaka, separate self. The experience of non-separation is a feature of the human nervous system, not of any specific doctrine. 2 traditions that meditate deeply enough will arrive at the same experiential territory and describe it in their own theological language, one as unity with God, the other as the emptiness of inherent existence. The third, the territory is real. Both the Sufi and the Buddhist are describing something that actually is the case about reality. The universe is not composed of independently existing objects. Modern physics increasingly confirms this, from quantum entanglement to the relational interpretation of quantum mechanics. The mystics found this through internal investigation. The physicists found it through external measurement. If the territory is the same, the descriptions will converge regardless of the language, the culture, or the century. 3 positions. As always. The Sufi says, there is nothing in existence but God. The Buddhist says, there is nothing in existence with inherent being. One sees a universe overflowing with the divine, the other sees a universe empty of independent substance. They walked from opposite ends of the same road and met in the middle. 5 civilizations, 5,000 years apart. One truth. This is one origin.